WWE President Nick Khan has opened up on the possibility of CM Punk returning to WWE after his termination from AEW. Details on that, plus we have the ratings for this past week's edition of AEW Collision on TNT. Nick Khan has also opened up on the possibility of a UFC and WWE crossover now that TKO Group Holdings has been launched, with the merger between UFC and WWE being completed. We also have Nick Khan's message to WWE staff after the launch of TKO today as well. John Cena has commented on the launch of TKO on the New York Stock Exchange today. What is the latest when it comes to Vince McMahon's creative involvement in the on-screen product for Raw and SmackDown? Details on the changes that happened last night on Raw and possibly Vince McMahon's creative return actually taking place last week at SmackDown. JoJo Oftman has penned a touching tribute to her late husband Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, and Chris Jericho slams a pro wrestling journalist. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's start off talking about WWE President Nick Khan commenting on the possibility of a CM Punk return to WWE now that he has been fired by AEW. This is certainly fascinating, with what Nick Khan has said, not entirely ruling out the possibility of the former WWE champion making a return to World Wrestling Entertainment, now that, of course, it's under the Endeavor umbrella, with CM Punk having links to both the UFC and the WWE as well. Of course, CM Punk was released by AEW, fired with cause on September 2nd following an incident at AEW All In with Jack Perry. AEW President Tony Khan said that Punk endangered innocent people and that Khan feared for his life in the incident. Punk's status in wrestling is not known, as Tony did not comment on whether there was a non-compete clause attached to Punk's firing. However, WWE President Nick Khan, on today of all days, the launch of TKO Group Holdings, the merger between WWE and UFC under the Endeavor umbrella, Nick Khan was asked by ESPN's Mark Raimondi about WWE's possible interest in bringing the former WWE champion back to the company. Here's what Nick Khan had to say, quote, "Listen, we only have respect for Phil. We appreciate his run here. We appreciate what he did and tried to do with the UFC. Not many people can actually get in there and do what he did. So when we have respect for Phil, we wish him nothing but the best." Now, not really commenting either way on if we could ever see CM Punk back inside a WWE ring. Nevertheless, after leaving WWE in 2014, CM Punk famously fought twice in the UFC Octagon, losing both fights. Through his first fight against Mike Jackson was changed to a no contest after Jackson tested positive for marijuana. Nevertheless, CM Punk has yet to comment on his AEW release, and obviously he's been making the rounds, Nick Khan, discussing the merger between WWE and UFC being official, TKO being born. But what are your thoughts on Nick Khan's comments? Do you think it lends to the possibility of CM Punk returning to WWE at some point, possibly in the long-term future or in the near future? Or is this just a case of Nick Khan dodging the question and just being nice about a former WWE and UFC star in the process? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, the former show that CM Punk was front and center on was AEW Collision on TNT, and we have the ratings for this past Saturday night's episode. And everyone's very interested and fascinated to see how AEW is going to do now that CM Punk is fired from the show that was centered around him, as well as the return of football, college, and also NFL as well. Saturday's episode of AEW Collision on September 9 on TNT drew 476,000 viewers, which is a rebound after a big drop the previous week to 345,000 up against WWE Payback on Peacock, as well as a college football game too. The 3 episodes of AEW Collision in between SummerSlam and Payback averaged 503,000 viewers, so it's still down from that. Collision, of course, is without CM Punk going forward and going up against college football on Saturday nights for the next several months. The loss of 27,000 viewers is likely on the smaller side of the expected drop in viewership, given those 2 new factors in this month. In the 18-49 demographic, Collision drew a 0.15 rating, which is up from the 0.11 the prior week, and still a bit below the previous 3 weeks, which drew a 0.16, a 0.17, and another 0.17. Up against SummerSlam, it drew a 0.13 in that demographic, so again, it is up from that. Collision finished number 3 among all cable shows, behind college football on ESPN, which ranked number 1 in the key demographic with a 0.74 rating. Another college football game on Fox Sports 1 drew a 0.22 rating and finished number 2. In the male 18 to 49 demographic, it drew a 0.20 rating, which is up from last week's 0.16, but down from the prior 3 weeks, which drew 0.21, 0.25, and also another 0.25. So what are your thoughts on the ratings for Collision this past Saturday? Is this the kind of number we're just going to have to get used to when it comes to going up against college football? Was this always going to be the case? Once we got into the fall, once we got into the autumn, the college football was there, plus the loss of CM Punk, it's going to hurt AEW. What are your thoughts on this number, and what are your predictions for what the numbers and ratings will be moving forward? Now, of course, the biggest story of the day has been the launch of TKO Group Holdings. The merger between WWE and UFC is complete under the Endeavor umbrella, forming this brand new company, TKO, which is now trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And Nick Khan, WWE's new president, of course, previously he was the CEO, now he's the president of WWE, has spoken up about a variety of possibilities. Of course, Endeavor's takeover of WWE was officially finalized today, with the TKO merger company between WWE and UFC opening up on the New York Stock Exchange. When Endeavor, the takeover was announced back in April, one thing many had wondered was the potential crossover between WWE and UFC, and potentially seeing UFC fighters appear in WWE. Speaking to ESPN, WWE President Nick Khan discussed the possibility of crossover between UFC and WWE. Khan said that while UFC fighters will remain focused on UFC and WWE superstars will remain focused on WWE, the merger creates the opportunity for UFC stars to extend their career in WWE and TKO once their fighting days are over. He said, quote, UFC fighters are going to stay focused on the UFC, and WWE superstars obviously do something different in our ring. But you also see in the UFC people with big personalities who, once their UFC run is done, once the UFC and the fighter says, hey, maybe now's the time to call it a day, could those people have a longer life at WWE and extended life with TKO? We think so. Of course, several former MMA stars have gone on to have very successful careers in WWE, including Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, Matt Riddle, Bobby Lashley, and others. So certainly it is indeed possible they could cross over with WWE. Now, the WWE president, of course, like many people involved with TKO, has had a very busy day today, and Nick Khan has shared a message to all WWE staff following the official announcement of the Endeavor merger. On September 12, that being today, Endeavor announced that the WWE and UFC transaction had closed, meaning that the two companies have been officially merged into TKO Group Holdings, one premium entertainment and sports company under Endeavor. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics has now shared a message which Nick Khan sent to all WWE staff. The message reads as following, quote, "This morning we announced that WWE and the UFC have officially come together to form TKO Group Holdings, creating a new premium sports and entertainment company. TKO will begin trading today on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol TKO. A big thank you to all of you for your hard work and commitment that helped us achieve this milestone. As we now begin this transition, we will be in touch with more details. In the interim, we will be communicating with each of you regarding new policies and procedures. HR will also be available to answer any and all questions you may have. We know when companies undergo change, it can feel like uncertain times. The special culture that WWE has cultivated over its long history is what has allowed our business to flourish, and we will be preserving that as WWE and UFC both continue to grow together as part of TKO. As always, we'll continue to focus on the work throughout this transition and make sure to communicate with all of you throughout the process. Thank you, Nick Khan." So that was a message that Nick Khan said. Now, as far as what maybe the UFC side of things thinks about TKO and the possible crossover potential, or certainly collaborative potential of WWE and UFC senior executive Lawrence Epstein says what could happen is the UFC and WWE holding major events on the same weekend in one city, and the two promotions going to tourism authorities and selling them for paying for both the UFC and WWE as a package deal coming to their jurisdiction. For example, you could have a situation like has happened in the past where UFC and WWE are both in Las Vegas for one weekend doing separate events, but they promote it together with the city bidding on that like they do for WrestleMania, etc. It could be big business for not only WWE and UFC, but now TKO as a whole. Now, John Cena from the WWE side of things has spoken about the merger between UFC and WWE today. 16-time WWE World Champion John Cena has now commented following the official merger of WWE and UFC into TKO. On September 12, as I mentioned, Endeavor announced that the transaction has now closed for WWE and UFC to be merged into one premium sports, entertainment, and media company. John Cena has now taken to Twitter, X, with a photo of the WWE and UFC themed decorations outside the New York Stock Exchange, previously shared by Ariel Helwani. John Cena tweeted, you can see it on the screen right now, "Another historic moment in the evolution of the sports entertainment industry. Congratulations to everyone involved in today's massive announcement. At Endeavor, at WWE, at UFC." Of course, Cena is currently in the middle of a brief WWE run, with the Hollywood star returning to SmackDown for the September 1st show. Following his appearances at the Payback and Superstar Spectacle shows, Cena is scheduled for every edition of SmackDown through to the end of October. So Cena will be back this Friday night on SmackDown as well. Now, a story coming out of Raw last night was the return of Vince McMahon. He was there today. You can see a picture of him right there with Triple H. He was at the New York Stock Exchange to celebrate the birth of TKO Group Holdings, marking his first public appearance since his major spinal surgery and medical leave that he was placed on after undergoing surgery. And last night's edition of Raw was the first time he's been involved creatively that we knew of since his medical leave as well. However, there have actually been rumors now he may have been involved this past Friday on SmackDown too. Nevertheless, we have more information when it comes to the changes and the influence that Vince McMahon had over Raw last night and may now continue to have moving forward on the WWE product. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Raw saw numerous changes even before the show went on the air. Fightful are reporting that they spoke to numerous staff and talent who confirmed the changes were happening, but didn't know specifically who made what changes throughout the night. Both Vince McMahon and Triple H were credited with making changes, which happened until shortly before the show went on the air. McMahon was not at the show, but this is not unusual because he has not been physically present in months, but has made remote changes. Among those changes included Cody Rhodes, who was scheduled to open Monday Night Raw, being moved to later on in the show. Instead, Jey Uso opened up the show. Cody's segment ended up getting the same amount of time as it would otherwise. It was just a positioning on the show that was altered. The Viking Raiders versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin was originally slated to happen after the Baszler-Chelsea Green match. It was only slated for one segment and ended up getting moved to the main event tapings. Adam Pearce was scheduled to produce those. Natalya vs. Zoe Stark, which was produced by Sean Daivari, was originally slated to take place on the main event tapings and ended up being just completely scrapped. Plans for them changed multiple times throughout the day, and Natalya was eventually used in a backstage segment. One source said they felt bringing Natalya to the Raw tapings and not using her in any capacity would have been disrespectful after she stepped up in India following Becky Lynch not being able to make the trip. Of course, she performed double duty during the show in India. Now, Fightful Select are also reporting that they were told that some of the time adjustments ended up going to the presentation of the main event between Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley. Of course, that featured the return of Nia Jax at the end of that as well. Internally, there were two segments that actually weren't listed with specifics. After the Judgment Day tag match and after the six-man tags, the Becky Lynch, Tiffany Stratton, and several Jey Uso segments were budgeted in those. Now, Fightful are reporting that they asked a WWE talent about Vince McMahon's general involvement over the weekend and were told that McMahon was calling in changes as recently as SmackDown regarding minor details that were in the script. So actually, he didn't make his return last night. He technically made his return Friday night on SmackDown. Now, Fightful are working out to find out how long he's been contributing again. He was out of action for a while following major spinal surgery. Of course, it was in the middle of undergoing, well, just after the fallout of that major spinal surgery that it was reported he was served with a search warrant from a grand jury. So again, we'll have to wait and see if there's any fallout regarding that as well. Now, there was no meeting regarding the merger, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, and it was said to be otherwise a normal WWE Raw backstage. There might be a talent meeting or something like that Friday on SmackDown. Of course, if we get any more details on that, we'll let you know. But it has now been confirmed that Vince McMahon is back. He is back doing creative changes to both Raw and SmackDown. He's not there in person, but he's still doing it remotely like he was doing prior to his spinal surgery. Now, according to ESPN, there are no plans for, quote, massive changes to the respective products of WWE and UFC. Dana White will still run the day-to-day operations of the UFC, and Triple H will still remain the head of creative for WWE, as well as his role heading up talent relations as well. But we'll have to wait and see indeed what happens. Let me know your thoughts about that. Let me know your thoughts about what this could mean going forward for WWE. Are we going to see more Vince-isms moving forward now that this merger is complete? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, obviously, people are still trying to get to grips and wrap their head around, I know I certainly am, the tragic and sudden passing of Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt. Now, former WWE ring announcer JoJo Oftman has paid tribute to her late husband, Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, after his sudden passing on August 24. Taken to Instagram today, September 12, JoJo posted her first comment since the passing of her husband. She wrote the following. You can see it on the screen right now. She said, quote, "I've written and rewritten this post so many times because there are no amount of words in this world to describe Wyndham and what he means to me. But I've also been avoiding it because in some weird way, it makes all of this all too real. I miss the love of my life so much it hurts. He was everything I ever wanted and everything I never knew I needed. And I let him know that every day. I'm so grateful that he allowed me to love him fiercely. But I am so blessed he loved me fiercely in return. He was and always will be the best person I know, my best friend, my soulmate. Wyndham truly gave me a love that will last a lifetime, and oh baby, I thank him for that. He was the kindest, funniest, most caring man in the world. He made me feel beyond special every single day. He made everyone feel special, which was one of the million things I loved about him. Our bond was magical, something only the two of us understood, and that beautiful bond brought us two perfect babies into the world. That's another thing. He was the best daddy to Nash, Hyrie, Caden, and Kendall. Family was everything to him. Wyndham knew me better than I knew myself, and he always knew how to calm my storm as I did for him. He was the only person in the world that I could unapologetically be myself around, and not only did he accept it, he loved it. I cried because I wish we had more time, baby, but I smile because I was so blessed to be loved by you in the time we did have. I will always love you, Wyndham. I will always show our kids how incredible their daddy is. I will always make sure they know how much you love them, and I will make you proud just like you make me proud. I love you forever, baby, until we meet again." Of course, Bray Wyatt passed away on August 24, 2023 at the age of 36. WWE has added the following note to the item descriptions for Wyatt merch on the WWE shop website, saying, quote, "In the wake of Bray Wyatt's death, WWE will donate all net proceeds to support JoJo, Oftman, and his children." So if you do wish to contribute and support Bray Wyatt's family, you can do that by purchasing merchandise off the WWE website. Finally, Chris Jericho has slammed a member of the wrestling media. Since it was announced that CM Punk has been fired by AEW, many individuals both inside and outside the wrestling industry have voiced their opinion about the situation. AEW's Chris Jericho has now responded to a take posted by a member of the wrestling media via NoDQ, who said that, quote, "AEW is in the middle of a full-blown crisis and that CM Punk was, quote, probably ready to go nuclear on the company in multiple ways." Well, Chris Jericho had his own say on this, saying, "Hey, Chris Connor, this is the shoddiest piece of bullshit lying journalism I've read in a long time. Next time you want to attempt to write something, check your sources, your spelling, and your ass out the door. Oh, and go F yourself too." Of course, Punk's contract was terminated by AEW CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative Tony Khan following his backstage altercation with Jack Perry at AEW All-In in London at Wembley Stadium. While addressing Punk's firing on the September 2nd episode of SmackDown, Khan expressed that he felt that his life was in danger during the incident. He also revealed that an internal disciplinary committee and an external legal counsel investigated the Punk-Perry bust-up. It said that nearly 90,000 people tuned out of AEW Collision when Khan announced that Punk and AEW had parted ways. But there you go, guys. This is the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.